everyone's a DJ, everyone's a producer now. It's like, how do you actually stand out? I think really need to like find your sound. Easier said than done, right? But like that's kind of it. Like, like how else will you stand out?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Headliner Mindset Podcast. This week's guest is a heavy hitter in the bass music scene and one of the badass artists that has been bringing heavy metal to electronic music. In this episode, we talk about the pressure of staying relevant as an established artist, the difference between dropping an album versus dropping singles, essential DJ hacks for life on the road, and much, much more. This is PhaseOne. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show, man. So stoked to have you here.
Thanks for having me, sir. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I was just saying, congratulations on the album. By the time this comes out, the album will be out, but right now it's coming out in about a day or two. So yeah, congratulations, man, crossing the finish line.
Thanks. Yeah, we're finally here. It's been a year in the making, and a bunch of months planning the release and everything. So yeah. It feels very surreal that it's like, oh, it comes out in like a day or two. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah.
My question is, what are you going to do to celebrate? I'm huge on celebration. I think I'm always encouraging my clients to celebrate everything that they do. So what are you doing to celebrate a year's worth of work?
I hadn't even got that far ahead, honestly. Like I've just been so focused. I literally haven't thought of anything. Like it's funny because like this is like I'm doing nothing this weekend, like purposely, because like the week after the tour starts, I'm kind of like trying to enjoy like my last weekend as like a free man,
Yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't even thought that far ahead. I've been so like focused on like the rollout and like everything, like. But maybe yeah, it comes out Friday, so I guess I'll have a beer or something at home. Like,
yeah. See, okay, here's the thing. I got to point this out. We all suck at celebrating. Like we're so good at, we're focused on our goals. We're focused on working. Sure. What's the next thing? Right. But it's such an important part of the process that we also have to like acknowledge ourselves and celebrate the wins along the way. Otherwise it's like, okay, what's next? Right. We're just back to work on Monday, chasing the next thing. So yes, get that beer, do something fun. Super important that you celebrate.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely, yeah. Thanks for planning that, because I wouldn't have done anything otherwise.
Yeah, it's wild. No, you're not the only one, man. It's wild. Like I do, I am a life coach for artists and DJs. I help a lot of people out with the music business side of it, but like the mindset life coaching side of it is so important as well. And this is like a pillar of my process, is like we have to celebrate every little milestone along the way. Otherwise we just get fucking burned out and all we're doing is working and grinding, and that catches up with us after a while. So yes, celebrate big time.
I think my mentality around it was like, because tour starts next week, like I kind of treat tour as like my social time slash work. Like I'm working, but like I'm meeting so many people, meeting so many fans, and like traveling, and like I kind of treat that as like the time to like celebrate in a way, where it's like I get to like besides all the travel, like I get to hang out with people, and like like it kind of feels like a party, yes, it's work, but like it does feel like a bit of a thing. So I was kind of like going to use that as my like celebratory part, but like it's a bit different though, isn't it?
I was going to ask, does tour feel like a celebration when you go out there?
Sometimes it feels very exhausting, but like as I'm sure like many of your clients will tell you, it can be a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing like every weekend, like this tour I'm about to start is like literally every weekend until the end of the year. Like
So I imagine the beginning, like you're gonna get out, you're kind of fresh, beginning a tour, album just dropped. There's probably a lot of like excited celebratory energy in the beginning, and then I imagine there's a point where you're like, shit, I've been on the road for a while. There's probably got to be like a dip in the excitement after you've done so many shows in a row. Like what's that like? Is there a certain amount of time that you when you've been on the road that you're like, okay, now it's starting to feel like work?
A little bit, but like I've also been doing this for so long that it all just kind of just like I'm used to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I think it's the weekends when you have like multiple shows. Like the first show's grand, second show's like feeling it, but if you have like 3 shows in one weekend, like the third show you're just like,
Yeah.
whew, like
Yeah.
it's brutal. It's especially with all the travel. Like I always try and like get the like direct flights to make the to make it easier on myself, easier on my body. Like I'm just like just get me there. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to mess around with like layovers and shit.
Pay the extra $100 to avoid the
Exactly,
layover
yeah.
and catch up, get a little bit more sleep. What are some other tips that you have for, maybe there's some younger artists out there that they're just starting to get their first shows. They're just starting to tour. As a touring veteran at this point, what are some tips that you have to help people survive life on the road?
I think like an important one, if you're like flying a lot, is to try and stick to like one airline, because you want to like rack up those miles and gain like a status with an airline, because when it comes to time when you're like traveling a lot, it's like you want that experience to be as pleasant as possible, right? So it's like for me, it's like I'm like top tier with like Delta and American, so it's like whenever I catch those airlines, like pretty much like 9 times out of 10 flights I'll get upgraded to first,
Oh, nice.
and like having that and like having access to like the lounge, like because like that's kind of your time to like get lunch and shit like that. And it's like if you can save like money by having to not buy lunch and that you can just go to the airport lounge and get your food there,
Yeah.
that makes it that makes a big difference in like when you add it all up.
Yeah.
So that I think that's a huge one for me, I think.
DJ hacks.
DJ hacks, yeah.
Love that, man. Well, I want to hear a bit about we can call it your origin story. So anyone that's been listening to the podcast for a while, you guys know I'm a fucking metalhead. And I'm sitting here with a fellow metalhead who has also brought that into the electronic world. I think it's so cool to kind of just see how those worlds have been joining forces more and more. I'm curious about your background as an artist, as a musician. Did you start off playing in bands? I've seen that happen with a lot of artists. So tell me a bit about how you started in music.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of dubstep producers used to play in like rock or metal bands.
Yeah, almost all
like,
of them for sure.
a lot, yeah. Yeah, I mean, God, I started playing guitar when I was like a kid. Didn't really take it seriously until like maybe I was a teenager when I started getting into like Metallica and shit like that, when I was 13, 14 kind of thing. And then in high school we started like high school band. We would do like covers of like Lamb of God and stuff
Hell
like that.
Yeah, dude.
And then that kind of like then we like graduated, and then we kind of kept that band for a couple of years, and we started just doing like local gigs just around like Sydney, basically, where I'm from. And then after that I kind of started bouncing around just between other bands, because at that point like we knew everyone like kind of in the local like metal scene, like the underground local metal scene, whatever. And then at that point I was like playing in like 3 different bands at once, kind of like we would always kind of bounce around each other's bands and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was kind of like my introduction to like, I don't say tour, it wasn't like touring, but like we would be doing shows and stuff like that, and like we did a few like national runs in like a van, like down to like Melbourne or like Brisbane or Canberra and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like real touring, but like it kind of was though, because like it's like 5 dudes like crammed in like this van with like drum kits and like amplifiers and gear, like it was so uncomfortable.
A little different than going to the Delta Lounge by yourself as a DJ for lunch. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a very different experience. But like that was kind of my first taste of like doing shows and touring and stuff like that. This is before I even knew what like EDM was. Like back then, like this is like 2006, 7. Like like EDM wasn't really a thing. I mean, it was, but like wasn't really like to me. It was just like.
It was all techno music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it kind of was to an extent. Like, I know dubstep was only just kind of being invented like around then, like 2006, 7, 8, 9. But like super underground, like, and just in the UK, like nowhere else even knew what it was.
Yeah. So when did you make that transition into music production?
Yeah, I mean, like I was always doing production, like with my bands. I was always the producer, I was the engineer. I went to school for sound engineering, so like I already had like a producer hat on. So I was like usually like predominantly like the songwriter in the bands. So I was like songwriting and engineering, basically the songs, and then it was more of like, it was almost like a matter of me being like teaching the band members how to play the songs that I wrote and recorded already, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we could like record vocals and stuff like that. So I already had that, like, enough knowledge, or like basic knowledge on, how to, record and, do some basic engineering. Then I went to school for it. And then in 2010, me and my buddies, like, used to travel like to Europe a lot, just for fun. And that's kind of where like I kind of like really started to, like, would attend like festivals and stuff like that. And that was kind of like my first introduction to like, I guess, like the new world of EDM and stuff like that, and it was around that time where Skrillex was coming up and stuff like that, and Dead Mouse was a big thing. So that was like, I don't know, kind of inspiring to me. And then like when dubstep really kind of like took a turn in like 2010, 2011, I remember sitting at my computer, because I remember being on Facebook, and like people would always like post like the UKF videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always see the logo come up, and I was oh, whatever. What is this technical shit? Whatever. Keep scrolling past, whatever. And then I saw it pop up so many times. And like, what is this? So I clicked on it, and like that changed my life. Like the day I clicked on that, like it changed the trajectory of like everything. Because it wasn't even like a heavy dubstep song. It was like a melodic like dubstep song, but like the vocal, I'm just like, I don't know, something about it just like sent me into like this aura. And then I went on a deep dive and found all like the heavier stuff, and discovered like, like Skrillex did a fucking collab album with Korn and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I was like, so like, it's like, and to me it was just like this is just like electronic metal. It's like they're both just aggressive styles of music.
Totally.
Just, you know what I mean? So, and then I don't know, that was kind of like the introduction, I guess.
Yeah. So that was always there for you from the beginning, though, was the metal roots and kind of background. Were you playing guitar on your early stuff? Like, were you actually bringing in like the metal sounds?
Not at that stage. Like the early stuff, I was just basically trying to make dubstep without the idea of any crossover.
Yeah.
And because then I started doing that for a bit. Then I ended up quitting the band I was in at the time to just kind of focus on that. Because by then I was like just like making shitty like remixes or like ideas and just putting them on SoundCloud. And then off that, people were trying to book me, and I was like, "Fuck! Like I don't know how to DJ." So like I'm like, I guess I should teach myself how to DJ if I want to get booked or whatever.
I want to ask about that real quick. Because there was an era where you could just upload a track on SoundCloud and do like a cool remix, and it would get like 10 million plays, and then you just start getting calls from like bookers and agents and stuff. So I want to hear about like when you started getting success. Were you going as PhaseOne at this point already? Was that your brand, or did you have a previous brand?
Yeah. I pretty much just like I had to make a SoundCloud account, so I was like, I just kind of picked a random name. Like to me, it was like PhaseOne just comes from like phase is like in audio, like audio phasing in and out. Yeah, just that, and slapped one on the end. Like I basically just had to think of a name to like make the account. So that was kind of it.
And then you started seeing success pretty quickly, just from putting your music out there.
I would say success. Like I got some recognition, I guess, because like I guess like having previous experience as a musician in general, kind of like had the building blocks to make a song. Like I knew music theory, and I could play several instruments and all that sort of stuff. So that definitely helps. And then maybe after like a year or something of uploading songs, like and just also kind of going out and getting to know like local DJs and local promoters and stuff like that. Like I definitely started getting booked a few times, just like locally. Yeah. Just like opening like doors for like whoever,
Yeah.
Were
you pretty set on becoming a DJ at that point? Like you made the transition from like I'm in a band. What was that moment where you like it sounds like you probably closed the door on the band thing and started going for the DJ thing. Like what was that moment?
I mean, like I never thought it was going to take off. Like I never that was never my intention. Like if you had said to me like 15 years ago, like, oh, you're going to be doing this full time, in a few years, like I would just be like, no, this is just for funsies. Like
Okay.
I had my day job and all that, and I was just doing music just because that's all I ever knew. You know, like it's just what I do. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was probably like maybe like three years into it, maybe like 2013, that I started missing doing the metal stuff, and that was when I was kind of like, why not try and do both, I guess. Like so like yeah, I kind of started like doing the metal stuff as well, but then trying to incorporate like I guess EDM into it.
Yeah.
And then little did I know that was about to spark my like next 10 years of like journey of like trying to master that sound or whatever, you know.
And I want to acknowledge you for that, bro, because I've seen and heard a lot of people try, and it's hard. It seems like it's hard to make it work. I had a good chat with Nitty about this on the podcast, and I actually used to manage Sullivan King early on in his career. Was with him when he started picking up his guitar and bringing it all together. But it's like it's a sonically kind of hard thing to do, and you might hear a lot of like maybe like a metal verse and then just into a dubstep drop, but to actually really bring it all together to sit on top of each other, it's there's only a few people out there that I think are actually really doing it well. And so you're one of them, man. You've been doing a good job of actually like,
hope so.
bringing it together. Yeah, for sure. And the one point I want to highlight as well of what you just said was like you said you were doing it like just for funsies, you know, like you were just following, because right now, you know, I think so many people are focusing on success. So like, okay, I want to be a successful artist. How do I become a successful artist? What do I need to make to become a successful artist? And I always love hearing these stories where it's kind of like, it's like I wasn't really chasing it. I wasn't really trying. I was just following, like, I really love making music, and let's follow the stuff that's actually fun and interesting. And especially for you, you know, like metal and electronic music wasn't a thing, but that was what was inside of you. That was something that you loved, something you were interested in and passionate about, and you followed that. And that's what ultimately led to your success.
Totally. Yeah. It's definitely been an interesting journey for sure, to say the least.
What would you say have been some of the biggest challenges on your journey so far?
I think like in more recent days, like post-COVID, you know, like I guess like because I've been around, like I'm considered like an old head now. Being an older artist, it's like just as hard to like stay on as it is to like come on these days, I feel like. Because like I feel like with the way people consume music, like they're spoiled for choice, you know. Like there's all these new things coming out, blah blah blah, and it's almost like, oh, shiny diamond, oh, shiny thing over here. It's like, you know, people are so attracted to just new fancy things or whatever. But it's like, you know, trying to stay on is like an older artist is like definitely a tough one, especially like because now it's like a whole new generation, you know. So it's like trying to stay, you know, connected to these new fans that are like grew up in like the 2000s, like with their phones and stuff like that, and like the whole TikTok generation. Like that's my struggle, is trying to like, you know, essentially shift my focus, not focus, but like add the focus of being like a content creator on top of trying to do like what I aimed to try and do originally, you know.
Like
it's almost like you're adding another job on top of it, basically.
Totally. Yeah. Back to what we were saying before, where it's like, yeah, you kind of came up in the era where it was more about the music. It was like if you just made really cool shit, there was just less of it out there. So a lot more people kind of would have gravitated to it. And now there's so many more people doing it. And being an artist is about so much more than just the music. It's like it's about the whole world that you're creating now. And social media is obviously a big part of that. So very different.
Yeah. It's a really weird time to be alive, for sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about creating content and kind of playing the TikTok generation game, you know?
I don't love it. I don't love it. Like I'm definitely not great in front of a camera. It's definitely a downfall of mine. I'm definitely like introverted naturally, and just like camera shy. Like it's very different like on stage, and it's just like if someone's filming you like DJ or whatever, like that's different. But like when it's you and in camera and talking and stuff like that, that's where it's kind of like like I feel like it can very easily feel forced, you know.
Yeah. I feel like this really is the $1 million question for a lot of artists, is that it's like, okay, I love making art. I love making my music. I'm happy to, promote my songs and obviously play shows, and we can film cool content around that. But it kind of seems like it's almost like it's not enough now, like there is like a demand for people want more from you in a way, right? Like I want more of the artist. I want you to show me what you're having for lunch and talk to me and, tell me stories and stuff. So if we look at it from that perspective, I guess like what else do you and could you and are you talking to your fans about besides just like, hey, I have a new song coming out and here's me playing a show?
I mean that's a lot of it. This is definitely a lot of that.
Yeah.
I post my dogs sometimes. I got two dogs. Like it's a bit of that. Like I don't know. It's like I've always had the mentality of like having my private life like separate to like my professional life, but those like lines are getting blurred now. So it's like I'm trying to bring a little bit more of that into it. But like I know like sometimes they'll post like food or dogs or something like that, or yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a weird one for sure.
It's a hard question, man. What would you say the PhaseOne brand is all about?
Besides the like the EDM metal stuff, I feel like that's kind of the main shtick, I guess. Like,
yeah.
But like I don't know, like I feel like there's like definitely an emphasis on like solid engineering as well, like in the songs specifically. That's like something I strive for, is like making like this cool compositionally cool songs that aren't just like a DJ friendly song. It's like intro, or that's like build drop kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Like if you hear the album, like there's like it's like actual songs, I guess.
Totally.
Like there's like verses, choruses, and like bridges and like other sections that like aren't like traditionally like in like an EDM structure, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the album Terra Nova. There seems to be a theme and a story around this. Tell me about what's the album about.
Yeah, so Terra Nova, it essentially translates from Latin. It means new earth. It took us a while to kind of like figure out like the whole theme around the album. Like, because at first when I first started writing the album, it was more just trying to think of ideas and all that sort of stuff. But then after I'd written like enough content, me and my manager kind of sat down and was like we need to figure out a name for the album first of all, and also we want to figure out some like themes and stuff. Like we want it to be like a full album project. Like we don't want it to be just a bunch of tunes like slapped together,
Yeah.
So yeah, we came up with the idea of Terra Nova, and came up with like a lot of cool like activations around that. So there's a lot of like environmental like themes essentially. Like if you've seen the artworks, like there's 3 singles and like the main album artwork. The first single artwork is essentially Genesis. It's like the Earth, brand new as it was intended, kind of thing. Then you move on to single 2, which is basically that bush, like that tree burning, and it basically symbolizes like humanity's like destruction on the planet, and like what we're doing to the planet.
Yeah.
And then single 3, it's like a desolate tree with no leaves, like just crows and stuff like that. And it's kind of like the aftermath of like humanity's like reign of terror on the planet. And then it leads to the final artwork, which is like the Terra Nova album artwork. And that's essentially the new earth post-human, essentially. Like it's almost like Mother Nature will always prevail kind of thing.
Cool.
So that's that, and we've done like a lot of environmental themes around it. Like we're doing actually this weekend we're doing an album listening party, and so we basically selected like 20 like top fans to come join us, and we're gonna be like planting trees and listening to the album kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool like stories to tell.
So cool. I saw your Instagram post about that. That's in partnership with Space Yacht, right?
Space Yacht and Northeast Trees, they're like a local LA like environment group that they do like a lot of cool stuff like that. So
awesome. And I have
so we're basically going to be
really fun and hilarious episode out with the Space Yacht guys. If you guys haven't heard that episode, go check that one out. Rami and Henry are fucking hilarious. So shout out Space Yacht. But that's so cool. So there's this theme of environmentalism here. Why is this important to you? Why did you choose this as the theme for the album?
I think like it's kind of just ties in with the whole Terra Nova thing and like the new Earth and everything. So it kind of like was trying to make it relate. You know, it's definitely something I've learned a lot about in the last year as well. The guy that used to own UNFD, a record label I used to release with in Australia, it's like a metal label. He has now he's now a part of a company called Green Australia, and they're doing like a lot of activations for like it's essentially just music, like touring music, and how to make it greener with like carbon offsetting and stuff like that, and like
cool,
just like materials that they use in terms of like building stuff. And so we had a really good chat with him like maybe like a year ago or something, like kind of once we figured out like what we were trying to do with the album. So that was really inspiring. Like I'm a huge advocate for like recycling in general, all that sort of stuff. With the album, we're also going to be offsetting every single like plane and stuff like that, offsetting the carbon every single like travel I do as
how
possible.
Do you do that?
So you can basically pay companies to like plant trees for you, and like
okay.
Often you can do it through like the airlines. So like there's usually an option for like carbon offsetting.
Oh wow!
Essentially pay it, and like then they pay people to go plant trees and shit.
So however much carbon monoxide or whatever, is that what it is? Carbon monoxide, right?
Carbon monoxide, like
is
emission.
That's what the emissions that these planes are giving out. So basically, planting a tree to compensate for however much.
Essentially, yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean, there's there's not a whole that you can do. Like it's best efforts. Every little bit counts. We're also doing like vinyls. This is the first time I've ever done vinyl. And we're going through this company in Brisbane, Australia, they're called Suitcase Records.
Yeah.
And they're one of two places in the world that do like recycled vinyl.
Oh wow!
And it's just they use it making like recycled materials rather than the other stuff, which is like super poisonous.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a really exciting thing to do. It's also my first time doing vinyl, so that's really exciting and terrifying.
Well, there's your content right there. Is the environmentalism, planting trees, like all of that. Like that's your outside of the music stuff that I think is really cool, that will definitely resonate with the audience. I love that. And just to get that message out, and even I didn't even know that that's possible, that you could like offset carbon emissions through planes, so that's a really cool message to spread. Now, when it comes to dropping an album, what inspired you to do an album rather than just do a single every month for a year? There's always this argument of like singles are an album, right? Like why would somebody really go through dropping an album? Because I've also heard from big artists as well where they're like, damn, album is a lot of work. We kind of dropped all our music at one time and it didn't necessarily get as much like love as they wanted. So what was the mindset behind making that decision?
I think like my first album came out 6 years ago. So I think it had been enough time where we're like, we need to do another one. I think it's just like a bigger project, so like when it actually comes to releasing it, like you can put so many more resources into it, and like it's almost like with singles, like there's almost like less incentive to like be spending like big ad budgets and stuff like that on. But with the album project, there's like there's a huge team effort, like our distributors like fully involved in it, like our whole team's like hands on deck. And it's just like, there's just more to talk about, and because it's more of a story than just like here's a new song kind of thing.
Yeah. Story behind those, really.
Yeah, and the cool thing about doing an album is you can do singles as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the waterfall release.
Essentially, yeah. So like it's a 10-song album. We've done like 3 singles, kind of like spaced apart by like a month each, and then the full album drops. So people are getting 7 new songs, essentially. And like there's some stuff on there that's people would have heard before, like especially if you came to it came to shows or whatever, like you
Yeah.
would have heard me play them.
I saw you got some familiar faces and homies on the album. Micah Martin I saw is on there. My girl Hades, Savannah's on there. Awesome people. I haven't had Micah on yet, but I got an awesome episode with Hades as well. One of my first like 5 episodes or something, and she's a badass.
Oh, wow.
So definitely check that
great,
one out
yeah.
as well. Now you said, when you're putting out an album, there's kind of justification for spending a little bit more money to actually like promote it. Where and what do you actually spend money on when you're promoting? Is this like running Facebook ads? Like where does the budget actually go?
Yeah, a lot of it is ads. So like Spotify has Marquee, so that there's like Spotify ads essentially. Then there's like TikTok and Meta ads. There's an argument to do Google ads, but like I feel like they're less important because you want to you want to target like more specific audiences. But then there's like budget behind like for this kind of project, it's like I have to pay like the feature vocalist like tons of money and stuff like that. So it's like for a single, it's like would you want to spend like thousands of dollars like on like making like that on paying a vocalist? It's like it's hard to justify. It's harder to justify if it's just like a one-off thing, one-off song.
For sure.
For an album project, like it all falls back into like the pot, like the budget. So there's more incentive to go out there and get like pay for like the bigger feature or whatever,
Yeah, totally. And then because that's also going to be like you might not tour off of a single, to just like be promoting a single, but I imagine dropping an album, you can kind of then really leverage that into doing a whole tour supporting the album as well and really make the money back there on the touring.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like, I guess that's kind of like arguably the biggest part. I guess it's like the touring aspect, because like that's kind of how it works. Like album tour, it's kind of it's kind of the model that we've in the music industry we've kind of been doing for decades.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. So you have a tour that you're launching relatively soon as well around this.
Yeah, so album comes out like this week, and then tour starts next week.
Okay, boom.
Yeah, that's straight into it. Like,
diving straight in.
Straight into it. Yeah, I think we've announced like 35 dates or something, but there's many more to be announced still. So.
What tips would you have for somebody that's considering writing an album? It sounds like a lot of work.
It's definitely daunting. I don't know. Like, I think because like I've heard a lot of albums, especially in like the EDM world, and like sometimes it does just feel like just a bunch of songs that they've had sitting there for ages that they've just kind of slapped together.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's fine. Whatever. There's no rules. There's no wrong or right. But like for me, an album should feel like cohesive, and like it should have like a lot of like it's your one time. It's your one time to experiment and like do something different. Because like you wouldn't normally do like experiment with a different genre and release it if you were just doing like one-off songs, right?
Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, I'm not saying you couldn't, but like I feel like we don't see it. Like we don't really see it. I feel like people kind of stick to like what sells and what's going to get them the next booking kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like,
how do you feel about that actually? Because that's a common thing I hear a lot of people asking is like, should I just find my sound and make the same sound so that there's some consistency and I'm kind of hitting the same market? Versus a lot of people are kind of like, well, I like making maybe a couple different sounds. Maybe I like dubstep and I also like drum and bass and I also even maybe like house music. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that as an artist? Because I can see how from a business perspective it makes sense to be consistent, but also as an artist you kind of want to have freedom too. So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I just get bored really quickly. Like, I need variation. Like, I would like if I was just making the same old thing over and over again, I would just be like, what's the point? Like, that's my perspective. I can totally see why people do it and why it works. I totally get that. But I just need variation like constantly.
Yeah.
And I also just love experimenting with other genres and stuff like that.
Yeah. How much are you paying attention to the industry and the music business when it comes to actually like creating music?
I feel like a lot because I also run a record label, so I need to kind of keep on top of what's cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like research, but like it's like research for like for self knowledge and for the label, but also for like my project as well. So like I feel like me keeping on top of what's relevant and cool helps me know what not to do when I'm writing my songs, you know, or what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely is like a huge factor. But also just like, you know, like touring and stuff like that. You hear what people play. You hear what's cool. Like you hear what everyone's, you know, about.
Yeah.
That's definitely a huge part of it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And so with this album, you feel like you had a little more room to kind of expand or just experiment and explore. What was inspiring you with the creation of this album, and what directions were you kind of exploring here?
I definitely tried a few different other genres that I hadn't done before. Like I made a breaks tune, which I'd never done before, and it turned out really really cool. Yeah, we couldn't expect it. I had no idea what I was doing, but like essentially just going off like I'm huge fans of like night punk and Imanu and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like I essentially kind of wanted to like make a track inspired by them, but also make it metal. Like
yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird one, and it turned out super good. Like it got the vocalist of Banks Arcade from New Zealand to feature on it.
And you cool. Feel like if you had just dropped like a breaks tune as a single out of nowhere, like it'd be kind of a weird move to make because people wouldn't really be expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, like there'd be nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it would get as much traction as if it was like part of something greater, you know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and like there's other songs on there. Like there's a drum and bass song on there. Like I am known to make drum and bass occasionally. I kind of do it like maybe like once every blue moon, but but being from Australia as well, like we have such a huge like drum and bass like just the fandom there is crazy. Like Australia, New Zealand is like crazy for drum and bass, as well as Europe. But like New Zealand, dude, it's like drum and bass mecca. Yeah, mental. Like they play it on the they play it on the radio like it's like pop music
for sure.
So I feel like I've got a good ear for drum and bass because like a lot of people people hate when dubstep producers make drum and bass because like they don't know. Like it always sounds like it was made by a dubstep producer, you know. It's it's got dubstep drums in it and like dubstep bass noise. It's like no, this is not it.
But that's the stuff that actually I had a good chat with Joe Wiseman, who's the head of Insomniac Records, and I was asking him like, what's the shit that's like really coming up, you know, like what's the next wave? And he was really advocating about drum and bass, and it's funny because I have recently, well, not so recently, maybe the last 2 years, like really got into drum and bass, but it is the more dubsteppy production sounding drum and bass because as Americans, we're a little bit more familiar with that sound, you know? And so it's like hitting over here in a different way, which is, really interesting, but it makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, drum and bass had a great, like the last year and a half has been really strong in America for drum and bass, which is great to see, you know. It's like, and like literally like since I moved here like 8 years ago, everyone has always been like, next year is the year for drum and bass, next year's the year for drum, and we've said it year and year and year again, but then like it's kind of finally happened a little bit. Like
totally. This is the year, maybe next year will be even bigger.
Maybe hopefully,
yeah. As an Australian, I've worked with a lot of Australians before. Were you anxious to leave Australia to move out to the States to be kind of in a bigger playing field?
Yeah, I kind of like outgrew Australia because like, you know, like, I love my country, but like there's only so much you can do there. There's only, you know, there's like 5 cities you can really play. Yeah. And like you can only do those like once or twice a year, you know, so it's like there's just not much there. So I definitely like reached the ceiling of that, you know, pretty quickly. You got New Zealand as well. And
when were you able to make that move?
I got my first US visa in 2016 and then did a tour then. And that was my first introduction to America in general. Like I'd never been before, never really had much interest in going actually as well.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I was like, oh shit, like I could potentially sustain myself just doing this and like quit my day job or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty daunting at first, because then like 6 months later I did that. I moved. So it was definitely scary going from being like, I guess, being like a big fish in a small sea in Australia to then going to America and being like a small fish again.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a weird a weird mentality thing to go through. Also just like fit in and like, just find my place and like, and just go through all the motions of moving to another country, like getting a social security, redoing my driver's license in America, like doing all the, government stuff.
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of people, there's like Canadian people that I know as well, Australians, people that are wanting to move here, but it's a hard thing to do when it comes to visas. Just the reality of picking all your stuff up and moving to the other side of the world. But for you already had a tour going on. You were already starting to get booked and play shows, and that's when you knew basically that there was demand for you to be able to make that move.
That's kind of how you get the visa. Like you basically need to show the government that there's a demand for you. So like you essentially need to have got a booking agent that are essentially booking you like shows. They need to write a whole list of the shows that you've got coming up, and you need to send that to the government and be like, this is what's going on. Like he's needed here. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And, and pay the fee and all that. But like, it's getting harder and harder to get the visa these days. Like back when I did it, it's already more than doubled in price since I got my first one. And like, with the new president and all that, it's all these new laws. Like I think they just like they blocked like 40 plus countries from even being able to apply.
Wow.
Crazy. So one, the expense is like, it's becoming almost not even worth it because of the expense.
Yeah.
And then like it just comes down to like what officer you get during the day of like their selection. Like you might just get someone that's having a bad day, and it's like no, even though you're fully like credentialed up.
Oh wow.
But I mean, like, luckily for me, I got my green card last year, so like I don't have to worry about that visa stuff anymore. But like, I've been through it, and I feel for everyone that's going through it. Like it's a rough one.
Yeah. Now, coming from Australia specifically, do you suffer from what they call tall poppy syndrome? Have you noticed that in transitioning from Australia to America?
I've heard the expression. Can you remind me what it means again?
So basically what they say is like tall poppy syndrome is something that Australians have where you basically don't let each other be too proud. It's like you kind of get cocky, like don't be like a tall poppy in the field. Like you need to basically really be humble. And so a lot of Australians kind of struggle with dare I say maybe celebrating themselves. Or like allowing themselves to be like really proud of themselves, where they like actually have to kind of tone it down. Whereas a lot of Americans are like too cocky; they think they're the shit.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess so. Like I can kind of see it. Like I definitely see some Aussies that like get the ego and all that, but it's like it kind of it's inevitable in this industry. Like whatever. Like if you want to be proud of yourself, that's fine. But I feel like when ego steps into it, it's kind of like you're just overcompensating for something there. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's an interesting balance though too, because it can kind of go the other way, or the pendulum can swing the other way too. Where it's like obviously if you're being cocky, your ego's too big, then you think you're better than other people, right?
Totally.
But also at the same time, sometimes we don't allow ourselves to actually own how great we truly are. Right?
True.
Like I want to own the fact that like, no, I'm awesome. I'm a badass. Like I'm great. Normally we have the other voice in our head saying like, no, you suck. You're a piece of shit. Everybody's better than you. Right. So it can kind of go the other way where it's also, I think, good to own our greatness and to be proud and to celebrate ourselves as well.
I feel like I should definitely do that more because I always just feel like I'm not doing enough,
Yeah. No, and that's just such a real. such a real thing, I think, for a lot of us. Anyone that is, you know, ambitious and chasing dreams and goals, and especially in an industry or just owning your own business in general, there's always a million more things to do. Like it's never enough. There's always a next level. There's always 500 tasks I haven't completed yet. Right. So when does it actually ever end? And when are we ever actually there? You know, like what is the destination where you can finally be happy and be proud of yourself? Right. There's always another level. There's always like the horse chasing a carrot on the stick. So if we don't learn how to be happy and proud now and feel successful now, there's the destination is imaginary. We're never going to get there.
Well, I mean, like, what is a destination? You know, like, just keep making cool art. Like,
I don't know
that's all it is, really. Like,
what is it for you? Yeah, just keep making cool art.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess so. Like, as long as I can sustain myself, just making art. Like, I guess that's already the goal. You know.
Yeah, you've already arrived, man. You're there.
I guess, but like, I don't know. It's like what else is there to more to it? You know, it's like.
But do you feel like you're there? Do you feel like you've arrived, or do you feel?
No, I don't feel like I'm there.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I'm there at all. But like, even though like, you know, I should be very content where I'm at, but like, I'm not. Like, you know, it's weird. It's weird.
It's wild, man. It's a weird paradox, right? It's like if success is making music every day, being able to live off of it, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're there. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
There's still a part, you know, I think for all of us to a certain degree, there's also still a part of us that feels like, well, we're not there. There's somewhere else we're supposed to be. I think that's the trap. You know, so what I call playing the inside out game rather than the outside in game. The outside in game is, well, let me drop the album and do the tour and, you know, get to that next level, and then I will feel like I'm there. But we're chasing it forever, versus the inside out game is like learning how to be like, wait a minute, no, like I've already arrived. I can, whatever feeling I'm chasing, the feeling of joy, the feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of contentment, it's like that's actually available to me now. I got to learn how to like be in that energy and in that feeling now and come from that place.
It's kind of going back to what you said at the beginning with like celebrating the wins or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But also I feel like a huge part of that kind of plays into like comparison. Like you're always going to like look at your peers who are, you know, doing this and that, and you're like, oh, like, God, like maybe that's the level I could strive to, kind of thing. So like, is that the next goal, kind of thing, or you know, is that the next destination? It's hard not to compare, you know.
Yeah, it's a big one. You know, I had a big perspective shift around comparison. And if we get a little woo woo, a little like law of attraction woo woo real quick, it's like when we compare ourselves to somebody else, and if we feel, you know, any kind of jealousy or resentment around it, like, damn, they're killing it, they have this thing and I don't, and well, then we bring ourselves into the energetic vibration and frequency of jealousy and resentment and basically like lower level vibration. And so basically I'm seeing success and I'm having like a low vibration reaction to it. So the universe is like, all right, well, you obviously don't like what you see happening over here, so I'm not going to give any of it to you. As opposed to when I see somebody, I compare myself to somebody and I see somebody killing it, and then I celebrate them. What that does is that brings me in the energy of celebration. And now I'm at a high vibrational frequency. And now the universe is like, oh, okay, you're like an energetic match to what's happening over here. Let's give you some of that also. And I know it sounds a little bit woo-woo, but I always just say, like, fucking try it out for 30 days, man. Like when you see anyone you catch yourself comparing yourself to, just like celebrate the fuck out of them. Be like, hell yeah. Because if they can have it, so can I. Right?
Yeah, true.
But it's such a real thing, man. Especially, you're getting billed on a certain layer of the lineup, and this guy's getting billed there, and why? It's a whole head game. But when you are playing the inside out game, it's like, yo, I've already there. I'm already arrived. I'm already celebrating everything and everyone, and that ultimately has a result. That opens up so many more doors. And I know it sounds a little woo woo, man, but try it out.
I like it. I like it. You know, I feel like I probably definitely need more of that in my life. Like,
yeah, it's huge. I worked with Sippy for a little while, and that was her. Actually, we're still technically working together. But speaking of fellow Australians, she was one that we worked through the tall poppy syndrome. I was like, Sippy, you can fucking be proud of yourself, all right?
Yeah. Totally.
But that was a big one, you know. When she came in, it was just like getting caught up in comparison. But like once I introduced her to that, I was like, yo, you just start celebrating everybody. And it was like she would hit me up and be like, you'll never guess what happened. I just got like the highest offer I've ever had before. And we just got booked all these more shows, and like all this shit started changing in her life simply from her just changing her energy and her mindset. So it's powerful stuff.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up with this, man. You know, there's a lot of artists listening right now that are coming up in the game, that are chasing their goals, chasing their dreams. Open-ended question: what advice would you have for any artists out there that are coming up and pursuing this path right now?
There's two sides to it, I think. Like, same kind of answer I've always kind of given for forever is like be present in your local scene, or whatever. I think that's very important. Make friends with all the locals, get to know the promoters. Like that's a huge one. That's kind of always mattered. But these days with the saturation of like everyone's a DJ, everyone's a producer now, it's like, how do you actually stand out? I think you just really need to like find your sound and like find something that hasn't been done, or like slightly different. Just like or just have like a unique sound design. Like with all the tools accessible these days, like it's so easy to become a producer. Like you can just download a whole project that someone else has made and be like, learn from that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
or get on AI now and have it make a song for
AI,
you, right?
like literally, crazy. like look, we never had any of that when we were like starting, and like we were just guessing, you know. but these days, like all the groundwork's done. Like you can download anything and make it sound good, like super easy. So like, how do you stand out if everyone's good and doing that, you know? So it's like obviously time and, you know, skill and all that. Like it's gonna come huge into it, but like, just finding something that someone hasn't done is like easier said than done, right? But like that's kind of it. Like, you know, like how else will you stand out? Like, really,
just make a lot of really cool TikTok videos and be shitty at music. That's the other path.
Well, there's also that.
Yeah, man. No, I love that. I think that is really so important. It all does really, at least from my perspective, there's an argument maybe against, you know, the importance of content, which that's the marketing vehicle, but like you got to have good music in the first place. You got to be bringing something unique and interesting and something that's going to land. So always stay focused on that.
That is the reason why most of us got into this in the first place, is like purely for the music, you know. So it's like, if the lines get blurred between that, it's like, I don't know, like, where do we stand, you know?
What's the point? All right. Well, speaking of music, congratulations on dropping your album, Terra Nova. Everybody go out there and listen to it. It is out, and it is fire. So excited to hear the rest of it. I've only heard the first few songs that are released right now, but I'll be checking it out this weekend, and I hope the rest of you guys do as well. And Graham, thank you so much for jumping on today, man.
Thanks for having me, man.